Are you ready to recover from existential OCD? Get your pen and paper. Listen to what I'm going to say. Write down what I'm going to say. You're going to get better from existential OCD. You just got to listen to me, okay? First of all, I got to tell you about just some basic OCD facts, okay? This is what you really need to understand. OCD works very simply. There's the prefrontal cortex. This is your thinking, logical, rationalizing part, right? There's an amygdala. That is your fight or flight. That is the troublemaker, right? That's the one that's sounding the alarm all the time. And this is the one that's fighting with it. And it's going, what does it mean? What does it mean? I got to turn this alarm off. This is just so scary. Like, what is it? I just don't like feeling like this. And the amygdala's like, oh my gosh, I just want an answer. I just want certainty. Again, there's no such thing as certainty, right? We ain't getting certainty. So this is what we're gonna learn, right? This is going to help this, right? First, we need to train this, and then the prefrontal cortex, and then the prefrontal cortex is gonna help our amygdala understand, right? We need to talk the talk, and we need to walk the walk. This is how you're gonna do it. So first of all, another thing that I want you to note is that OCD thrives on black and white thinking. Things are all good or all bad. Things are right or wrong, right? Things are black or white. No, rarely in this complicated life are things ever black or white, right? All good or all bad. There is a gray area that we need to come to understand and adopt a new mentality of flexible thinking when we want to recover from our OCD. So I'm going to help you break down this fear. Now, when it comes to existential OCD or fear of death, right? Or fear of what's going to happen in the afterlife, it's pretty cut and dry. Our downward arrow technique, we don't need a whole lot of it, right? Because it's right there. The fear is you don't know when you're going to die. You don't know how you're going to die. You're afraid of eternal damnation or something really terrible happening afterward and not knowing how to prevent that. Or you're afraid of like the thought of your loved ones having to experience that and maybe thinking that we wouldn't be able to handle death and death will be so horrible, right? Do you hear the black and white thinking and all that, right? So what we want to do is we want to write out our fears specifically, right? Now I'm going to help you now. I can't know exactly what you're afraid of, but I'm going to give you a bunch of ways. I'm going to help you zoom out of it because the hours, days, weeks, years that you've spent thinking about this, you're zoomed in, maybe at 10,000%, right? I need to help pull you out, and this is how we're going to do that. So first of all, what it's done here is it has taken one possibility out of infinite possibilities and zoomed in and focused on it and said, prove that isn't going to happen. That's what OCD has done, right? There is no way to prove that isn't going to happen, right? But there are ways that we could consider new perspectives to help us out here. So this is what I want you to note. Nothing stays fixed, right? Scientifically, energy can't be created or destroyed. That means your essence, your energy doesn't just randomly vanish or get thrown into some cosmic punishment bin. That's not how the universe works. The idea that you would be cast in some eternal horror or that you can't handle the reality of death after billions of people have died that have come before us and that are living presently, right? There's no evidence of that, right? Nature evolves, it reabsorbs, it transforms. Fear wants to tell you it's black or white, heaven or hell, good or bad. But life and death are so much more complex than that, right? These are different ways of thinking about it. Okay, now we're going to talk about religion and spirituality. Religion and spirituality are the closest thing that we've kind of come to try to make sense out of death, right? Death is kind of a troubling thing. It's mysterious. No one really knows. But religion actually does mean we do something again and again and again. Well, the thing is that our OCD has kind of become its own fear religion, right? Where we have thought about something horrible again and again and again, and we're practicing that. The idea of spirituality and religion is to help you feel more connected, more comforted, right? Like more like accepting of death and what might happen, right? It's considering a more positive or helpful possibility of the afterlife in some cases, right? With OCD, it's like horror and terror, and we're repeatedly, like, in a way, worshiping that, right? So it's making us feel like disconnected, afraid, bleak, dreary, like totally not confident about living, right? Because we're constantly in that fear state. So we have to consider that one guess is as good as any, but if we look at the laws of nature and the universe, it kind of points to, like, you know, things being in flux, nothing being exactly black or white. Things are constantly changing and evolving. So how would that point to some eternally horrible thing that was just going to happen and you're going to be stuck in, right? That's just one tiny possibility, very actual little evidence, right? So if we can rationally agree with something like that, and at the very least that that's one guess with very little evidence to support it, right? In actuality, that is the training that you're doing with your prefrontal cortex. That's something that you're gonna write every day, twice a day. You're gonna wake up and you're gonna write, I have a fear of, you know, dying and I don't know why. I'm afraid that whatever the whole fear is, right? Detail it out. And then you're gonna start poking holes, almost like you're a lawyer arguing against it. You're gonna go, hold on a second. There is no actual evidence to support that. Actually, think about it. Think about science. Think about nature. It actually supports this way. Think about this religion. Think about this spirituality. It says this, it says that. And then we need to come to accept one thing. No one really knows about death, right? No one in this human form is going to actually know about what happens when you die. No one actually knows, right? That's what we need to come to accept. But that whatever it is, you can handle it. You can, right? You've been able to handle so much. You can do that too. You know, whenever that happens, however it happens, I hope you're very, you know, old when it happens and you're happy, but whenever it happens, right? And so now that's part one. That's this training, right? Part two is when you're going to walk the walk. The amygdala doesn't listen when we say, oh, I don't think we need to be afraid of that anymore. Actually, like, it's totally good. Like, we don't need to worry about death because, like, no one knows. It's going to be like, cute idea. I'm scared, so I'm gonna keep sending the fire alarm. I'm gonna turn it on. So, like, solve it. Thanks. And then this is when you're gonna say, no, I know what you're doing. I've been studying. I've been doing my homework. I remember. No, I'm not gonna feed this thing. When you start engaging with the amygdala and you start fighting with it and trying to prove it wrong, you're zooming in. This is what you're doing. You're getting further and further and further from the surface. We need to zoom out. Just no. Let the alarm go off. Nope. I already know. I'm sorry. Bullshit. I'm sorry. I'm not doing it. Right? Let it go. When it sees that you are no longer arguing, that you are no longer fighting, it's going to be like, I guess he or she doesn't care anymore. Okay, well, I'll be back just to be sure. And then you're gonna, when it comes again, because you can't control the trigger, you cannot control the trigger, right? When it turns on again, you're gonna do the same thing. Nope, not touching it. I'm not touching it. I'm not doing it. You're gonna refocus your attention on something that actually matters in your life, right? Now, if you want to take it a step further, you can do, because the thought itself is the exposure when we have kind of like pure OCD. You want to take it a step further. Eventually, when you start to get like a little bit better with the thought, you can start to purposefully look at, read stories or watch movies about hell or damnation or something scary or purgatory, something like this, so that your brain can be like, oh my gosh, like, they're not afraid. Like, they're going toward it. Well, if they're going toward it, it's probably not a big deal. That's how you're going to do it. This is how you're going to help yourself. You're going to write this twice a day. You're going to, whenever you get triggered, accept you're in the trigger. You can't control that. You're going to let the alarm blare and just eventually it's going to come down on its own. You got to trust yourself. You got to trust me. You're going to build the confidence. If you have questions, let me know down below.